Okay, hello there, Aaron here, hope you're doing alright. Today I thought I'd talk a little bit about what I read over the month of March, just give you, just fill you in a bit about what I was reading and then look ahead and set some goals for April, and we'll see how that goes next month. And yeah, in terms of what I read in March, there's lots of fun stuff in there. I think I got a lot out of what I read, but I maybe didn't reach all the goals that I set myself, which is fine. That always happens. Yeah, let's get into the books from March. So the first three are all BookTube prize books, so I don't really have a lot to say about them. I'm going to make a separate video about what I thought about the BookTube prize books, so that should come up shortly after this one. But yeah, so one of the ones I read was Civilisations by Laurent, Binet, or Binet, don't know how you say it. Yeah, it was fun. Again, I'm going to save my impressions for a separate video. I also read The Morning Star by Karl over Knausgaard and Chasing Homer by Laszlo Krasznahorkai. Yeah, three quite different books actually, and actually the books for the BookTube prize on the whole were quite different, so yeah, that was quite cool. I've also been reading some Borges short stories, still in his fictions, and in the second part of that called Artifices. And yeah, I read some really cool stories in here, some of my favourite. They're all rereads at the moment, yeah, there's the theme of the traitor and the hero, which actually, if you know that story, I think it could do without the last paragraph. I think it explains the story a bit too much. Death in the Compass, which is one of my favourite Borges stories, and there's been a lot of talk about, I think, that story in particular over on BookTube. I know Jack, the Rambling Raconteur, he did a video about the sort of esoteric nature of Borges' writing, and Death in the Compass yeah, is one of those books that one of those stories that really shows that element of Borges' writing really well. What else did I read? There's also The Secret Miracle, which was an interesting one as well. One that I'd kind of forgotten about, and is really cool. It's about a guy writing a play in his head, but he's going to be executed the next day, and so he prays to God that he can live long enough to finish this masterpiece that he's working on, and yeah, it's an interesting little story that I'd forgotten about, and then it was really fun to remember and try to guess what was going to happen again. So I've only got a few more stories to go before I finish the stories from that collection from fictions, and then I think I might leave Borges, just put him back on the shelf for a bit, and read some more, someone different, because I like to have different forms and genres going at once. So I like to have some poetry and some short stories and a novel and maybe some non-fiction all going on at once, just for variety and stuff. And so again, for the sake of variety, I might try a different short story writer for a bit. But okay, we've got three other books that I finished in March. I finished the Fellowship of the Ring by J.R.R. Tolkien. I was hoping to finish, because I read the first half in January, and then barely touched it in February. But then I rushed through it really, really quickly at the beginning of February. Beginning of March. I'm totally losing track of time this year. But yeah, at the beginning of March, I just rushed through the second half. Not because I was trying to rush through it, just because it's just one of those books where when I do manage to pick it up, it's quite hard to put down again. So yeah, that was really, really fun. I think the way that Tolkien writes sort of nature and scenery was really coming out for me. I don't know, it felt almost like I don't know what it felt like, but it was good. I really enjoyed that. I read a poetry collection as well. I read Louise Gluck's Averno, which is sort of retelling and considering the myth of Persephone, I think. Persephone? Yeah, Persephone, and her going down to the underworld and how that affects the seasons, and then sort of mirroring that with real life and with grief and how we rely on the seasons. And yeah, it's a fascinating poetry collection, and I might reread it. It's a good one to read either in one or two sittings, I think, because the poems seem to talk to each other. So yeah, I'd recommend that poetry collection. And then I read this short little novella by Jean Cocteau called Les Enfants Terribles, which was actually really, really good. There seems to be sort of lukewarm reviews for this up on Goodreads and places like that. I thought this was really fascinating. It's one of those books where maybe the strongest point is that even though it's a third person sort of narration, it's not explaining everything. It's instead it's telling you everything, not quite from the point of view of a certain person or age group, but it's using their terminology and not over explaining it, and you have to as you're going through, you have to try and work out what this terminology is. So the best example is just the first chapter, which is a snowball fight. So you have all these kids running around, and the way it's described isn't like an adult describing a snowball fight, but it's what the children are imagining it to be. So there are maybe like generals, and there are people taking hostage and prisoner and stuff like that, and to a certain degree that carries on throughout the book with our characters. We're not seeing it through our own eyes, but instead something a little closer to their own eyes, but not so much that everything's explained and we understand it. So yeah, it's a great little book, and if you ever see it in a bookshop or in a library and you have 5 minutes, just read the first chapter. It's only a short little chapter with the snowball fights. I think it's really good. Okay, and then moving on to what I want to read in April. So that most of my reading is probably going to be taken up by finishing War and Peace. I finished this in... I haven't finished it. I started it in March, and I've just been taking my time with it, just reading a bit every now and then, and I've been really loving it. It feels much deeper, even after reading the first maybe 150, 200 pages. To me, just in terms of experience and empathy, it felt deeper than an entire novel, just the first 150, 200 pages, which is quite striking. And it still feels like that. I'm just getting deeper and deeper and deeper into the lives of these people, and it's really good. So I'm not rushing it. I know Sandy from Miss Reads a Lot. In March, that was the book for her 1001 book club, and also Hannah from Hannah's Books has been doing a read along of War and Peace, and my reading pace is somewhere between the two of them. I think everyone from the 1001 book club has sort of gone way past me, but I'm still running a little ahead of Hannah and Hannah's Books. Yeah, I don't know if I'll finish War and Peace in April. I'm just going to take my time and enjoy it. Yeah, that's been good. I want to read some more Chekhov. I didn't get around to reading another play in March, but the next play I have here to read is The Seagull. So I want to read The Seagull by Chekhov at some point. Hopefully read it in one sitting, because I like to do that with the play. Just to sit down and just read it in one go, or maybe two goes if I get interrupted by life and stuff. Another couple of things that are sort of ongoing from March. So I've been dipping into C.P. Cevafy's poems, and I made a fair bit of progress with this. Yeah, I should be able to finish this quite quickly, but I'm not going to make it a priority. I'm just going to dip into it when I feel like it. And I've sort of dipped my toe into W.S. Graham's collected poems, and it's been really great so far. Actually, there's these first few poems that are called 7 Journeys, and they're just ferocious in their language. It's really good. He's kind of, I don't know, it feels like his own body and his own writing and his and the landscape that he's grown up in or is moving through are all kind of mixed up together in this really strange way. So it's and the language just sort of keeps rolling and rolling and rolling, and it's quite hard to make head or tail of, but the impression at the end is quite striking. So that's an interesting thing if you ever come across 7 Journeys by W.S. Graham. And then in terms of short stories, I thought I'd give Silvina Ocampo, The Imposter, another stories a go. I'm not planning to finish this, but I want to just sample a few short stories and see if I enjoy it, just for some variety in April. And then just another sort of one of the main projects for April then is I'm joining in on Saga, and I think is it Egil's Saga that we're going to be reading this year through April. So I'm really looking forward to that. So I've got the Sagas of Icelanders here. So yeah, I'm going to read Egil's Saga, and if I get carried away and read another saga, I might do that. But there we go. So that's everything that I'm planning to read, everything I've read. As usual, it seems like my to-read pile is bigger than what I read the last month. But some of these books are books where I'm just dipping in. So yeah, we'll see how it goes this time next month. The year's just kind of flying by. But yeah, that's the wrap-up and TBR for March and April. So yeah, hope you're doing well, and I'll see you again for another video soon. Okay.